So I'm gonna measure you. Peace.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be reacting to... I'm sorry, not really reacting, but yeah, I'm going to react to the 25 hottest hitters of the last 25 years, Part 1, boxing. So I want to see some hitting going on. Yeah, so I've been seeing this popping up in my my little homepage there on my thing, so I was like, you know what, screw it, let's check it out. So I figured I'd record it too, you know, see if you guys like it. So yeah, so without further ado, let's see some of the hottest hitters. And a 3, and a 2, and a 1, and a...
I'm officially calling you out to fight me. David, you can't run away from me forever, and you need to follow through with this fight to get respect.
How do we measure a fighter's power to know how hard they truly punch? Sure, watching them put someone to sleep fight after fight is a pretty good gauge. But today, we'll be taking a look at every aspect of what it takes to be a ring assassin.
George hit me with one shot. When he hit me with the shot, my feet froze.
From George Foreman to David Haye, Tommy Morrison to Deontay Wilder, sit back and enjoy as we, in no particular order, take a look at the biggest punchers the boxing world has seen in the last 25 years. Well, 27 to be exact, as we focus exclusively on fighters that were active from 1990 to today.
Oh, this is from 2017.
They're not ranked by pound for pound, so of course, every entrant to this list is a heavyweight.
There's 3 parts, so maybe the other parts are...
Let's go, Sam!
One of the more forgotten champions of recent times is the Nigerian nightmare Samuel Peter. With a KO percentage of 80% out of his 36 wins, Peter was no joke in his time, despite the most famous clip of his career being his post-fight interview after winning the WBC title.
What message did you just send?
Undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Who next? I'm the best heavyweight champion of the world. I'm have WBC with me. I'm undefeated champion. Undisputed champion. I want who next?
In 2005, with a record of 24-0, Peter came desperately close to knocking Vladimir Klitschko out after putting him on the canvas 3 times. But ultimately, he didn't have the skills needed to see the job out to the end and lost by unanimous decision. Overall, I would say Peter is a good puncher, but nothing spectacular. His aggressive style worked in his favor for the majority of the time, but once entering the championship rounds, he fades quite drastically.
Punches are born, they're not made. He's aggressive, he's strong, he's a real heavyweight, he's got a neck that's real short and compact, and he can punch like hell.
David Haye is a man I'm sure many of you viewers are familiar with. There was only 2 men he defeated that managed to go the distance, leaving him with a 92% KO percentage in his 28 victories.
That's the right tactic. He should go in behind that jab. There it is. He doesn't have to worry about that. He can. The tiles come in, and Kelly has.
He made his stamp on the boxing scene during the late 2000s when he pretty much dominated the cruiserweight division, winning 3 of 4 major titles. He later moved up to heavyweight and beat Nikolai Valuev for the WBA title. Valuev had an astronomical height advantage, but Haye still managed to defeat him on points and even came close to stopping him in the last round. But, as a heavyweight, I personally feel Haye failed to live up to expectations after getting bullied by Vladimir Klitschko and more recently, whether injured or not, lost in a huge showdown with fellow cruiserweight champion Tony Bellew.
First time round, his game plan was superb and it worked out. He said prior to the fight exactly what he was going to do and how the fight was going to go, and it went basically 100% exactly how he said it was going to go.
Ike Ibeabuchi is a fighter I considered swapping for many of the honorable mentions I listed pre-hand. But despite not becoming a world champion in his short 20-fight career that saw him with 15 of those wins by knockout, Ike was a badass in the ring.
Power punches for the most part as he put together combinations all night long against the hard-hitting Tua.
His uppercut on Chris Bird in his last fight in 2005 still makes me cringe to this day and shows the kind of potential he could have had in his career moving forward if his personal life had never held him back. Larry Holmes is a top 10 all-time great heavyweight in my opinion, and the people that follow this channel know I include fighters dating back to the very start of the Queensberg rules when making lists, so that is something I say with the utmost praise. Larry didn't have the most menacing one-punch power, but a truly devastating all-around skill set that saw him KO 44 of his 69 opponents in the bouts he won, which in Larry's case was mostly title fights, as he dominated the era between Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. This may come as a shock to people, but my favorite ring moment in the whole history of boxing was in the 15th round between Larry Holmes and Ken Norton. Even Rocky Balboa at ringside was left flabbergasted.
People that I won't be heavyweight champion of the world. And they said, Larry, you ain't gonna make it.
Scores good with a shot to the head of Kenny Norton. Again to the head of Norton.
I said, I have no heart.
Ooh. Back, scores it. Yes. Running out of time, and that's it. It's all over.
Shannon the Cannon Briggs may have turned himself into a bit of a meme in the last few years with the whole "Let's Go Champ" thing, but fans that followed him as a young man coming through the ranks will remember the way he made semi-decent journeymen look like nothing but complete novices. It's speculated Briggs holds the record for most first-round knockouts in heavyweight history with 37, which is impressive whether you're knocking over tomato cans or not. Heavyweights are big men and can take a much harder punch than the average guy on the street, so kudos for that feat. But at the age of 45 and coming off a drug ban, I think it's time for the Cannon to maybe consider calling it a day.
You ain't forget that walk. That's right. You ain't forget that boat either.
You gotta catch the feet.
Let's go, champ.
You gotta get kicked out.
That's all right. That's all right, champ.
We don't want you to get kicked out of the gym, okay?
Tommy Morrison is a fighter that needs little explanation when talking about his power. Just listen to the sound of those punches.
Still trying to really get himself back into a good left hand. Down goes Cross.
Oof. Jesus, Crow. Oof. Bam!
What a huge shot.
His devastating left hook saw him KO 42 of his 48 opponents, many of which were brutalized in the first 2 rounds. Although many will argue the fact he failed to compile a resume of the same stature as his peers like Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson, he did beat some top fighters like George Foreman and Razor Ruddock. And when Ruddock went down, it was like he got taken out by a sniper rifle.
By Ruddock, and it may have hurt Morrison. Big left hook. Down goes Razor Ruddock.
Tommy had a whole heap of personal issues that stalled him from achieving an even better career, but he still most definitely deserves his spot here today.
My 2 favorite fighters. If you put Rocky Marciano and Floyd Patterson together, you'd have me.
That's you.
I think that's me.
Another fighter that was lucky to make the cut was the 7-foot giant Nikolai Valuev. Despite being the largest heavyweight champion of all time by quite a distance, Valuev failed to really impose his size on the many small men he met in the ring. A 52-fight career saw him win 50 of those contests, with 34 coming by way of knockout, but he never really beat an opponent that carried any real threat to him. Either way, at an average of 330 pounds, I'm glad it wasn't me in there getting my face squashed in his hairy, sweaty chest.
He's heavy, sort of leans on you, that hairy chest of his, he was sweating it, and you can see people sort of carrying away from him.
No puncher's list would ever be complete without the Teen Dynamo Iron Mike Tyson being mentioned.
Combination just misses, but he comes right back with the same combination, and boy, goes crashing to the canvas.
He is regarded by many fans as one of the hardest one-hitter quitters in the sport's history. Whether he won or lost, people would still be watching his knockout reels in 1,000 years' time. A perfectly managed and trained young Tyson was quite simply boxing perfection when he was coming through the ranks, knocking out every man in his path. Whether you argue the fact his level of competition was not quite up to scratch, he proved all doubters wrong when he got to title level and dealt with them in the same fashion. At the end of the series, we'll be calculating our personal top 25, and you can bet your house Tyson will be near the top. Just an amazing athlete with a real killer instinct.
Rips his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me.
Joe Messi is a name I'm sure many of the diehard fans watching this might not be too sure about. He retired undefeated in 2007 with a record of 36-0 with 29 knockouts after he got a bleed on the brain that left him unable to compete again.
On June 22nd, the Nevada Athletic Commission decided it was too dangerous for Messi to step back into the ring.
We wouldn't feature a fighter that didn't at least prove himself against a few decent contenders, and Messi did defeat Vasily Yurov, Monty Barrett, David Izon, and Burt Cooper that, to be fair, weren't exactly world beaters, but it takes a certain level of skill to beat those guys. It might be possible that I've only featured Joe just to give him a bit of credit that he's failed to receive elsewhere. He didn't exactly punch like a prime George Foreman, but he certainly knew how to put a guy to sleep on his best night. I hope you didn't think we were going to miss out on active guys, because whether Anthony Joshua has 19 or 90 fights, I think it's fair to say he has proved himself to be of a certain level already. The only fighter listed with a 100% KO record, Joshua is a bad man when entering the ring. Although it's very early in his career, so I don't doubt he'll eventually take a loss or let a fighter go the distance down the line. But as for now, his knockout of Vladimir Klitschko proved the raw strength and power this young man possesses. Every time he steps up the pace, his opponents hit the ground. We won't get too carried away with Joshua considering he's only been competing for a couple of years, but I've got a feeling his ring presence will live on for a long while to come.
230 pounds plus of hard-hitting, undefeated, young heavyweight.
If it's pure excitement you like to see when watching boxing, then look no further than Evander Holyfield.
Holyfield continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A straight right hand. The Talbot stops the fight, and Holyfield has won. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
In his prime, he really was something special to watch. Relentless work rate, quick hands, thudding power, and to top it off, the uncanny ability to never accept defeat.
Holyfield Foreman fight.
Another left hook and a right.
When Evander went after George and landed 18, 19 punches in a row, he just wasn't going to take no for an answer.
If you landed a 3-punch combination, you know he's coming right back with a 10-punch combination. The 63% KO percentage doesn't really give this warrior the justice he deserves, and that probably comes down to the fact he kept fighting way past his prime. Quite honestly, at his best, there is little to no heavyweight I'm picking to beat Evander, and that's saying something considering he moved up from cruiserweight. Tony Tucker was just another one of those great heavyweights from the late 80s and early 90s that suffered fighting in the same era as a prime Mike Tyson. With 47 KOs and 57 victories, Tucker was not a man that can be overlooked when looking back over the last 25 years. He proved that when he stopped Buster Douglas for the vacant IBF title in 1987.
Tucker presses him. Looks like it's a punch away. There was a left hook there. And a right behind him and another right. Douglas is in deep trouble on the ropes.
Injuries and managerial problems kept Tucker from reaching his full potential. But overall, he was a great boxer that could, on his day, beat a large majority of the fighters listed here. Although they may look similar and share the same last name, it's important to separate the Klitschko brothers when rating their skill sets. Vitaly Klitschko was an aggressive, hard-punching heavyweight that pretty much dominated the division in the 2000s. 45 victories with 41 knockouts, kinda speaks for itself. But honestly, it was more the manner of how he dealt with the top contenders which is more impressive. After losing to Lennox Lewis in an all-time great heavyweight slugfest in 2003, Vitaly remained undefeated for the remainder of his 10-year career and defended his WBC crown along the way. And for the unlucky men that went the distance, they had to endure a life-altering beating in the ring. Hasim Rahman is often overlooked when talking about recent heavyweight greats. Granted, he hasn't got the most stacked resume, but you can't look past the fact he knocked out Lennox Lewis, and in brutal fashion as well.
No.
Oh, he's got him!
He's got him!
He got careless and he's got him! Is it Oliver McCall all over again?
Before he met David Tua in 1998, Rahman had a record of 29-0 with 24 knockouts, and even when he eventually stepped up in competition, his KO rate stayed at an impressive 82%. He wasn't blessed with natural skill or talent. A rather slow and often out-of-shape Rahman never really grew a fan base in America, but he did always carry the power to upset the major players in the heavyweight division. Ernie Shavers, a top 25 hardest puncher of the last 25 years, you may ask? Yeah, that might be confusing for a lot of fans that associate him with fighting in the 70s, but he kinda makes the list by a technicality considering his last bout was fought in 1995. Obviously, this was not even a shade of his prime self, but good old Ernie sneaks into the list, and I'm guessing a lot of people watching already know how high he could potentially rank when compiling them at the end.
The best one-punch fighter, the one greatest punch I have ever seen is owned by a man named Ernie Shaver.
Ernie was a freak of nature. One punch could seriously change your life. And although a lot of his fight footage is grainy to view by today's standards, you can still see the amount of force this man could generate with a single blow. In Shaver's 74 victories, he flattened 68 of his opponents, and any top contender of that time will tell you the relief they had if they never had to meet him.
Harder than Joe Frazier? Harder. What about Ernie Shaver?
I never fought Ernie Shaver, thank goodness.
Yeah.
We've decided to cut the video in 2 parts. We'll be working overtime to get the next video ready as soon as possible, so if you think a fighter's missing, I can guarantee you they'll be featuring in the final top 10 next time. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, fight fans, this is Boxing Legends TV, signing off.
Wow. That's crazy. I wouldn't want to step in the ring with any of those guys, trust me. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Part 2 will be up soon, and Part 3 will be following soon after that too, so I got a lot more stuff planned for this channel, so stay tuned for more stuff, and I'll see you all again later. And oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Peace.